What's up, everyone? My name is Blue, and we are back with some more malicious compliance posts, following the rules to make people look like fools. If you haven't yet, please consider subscribing to the channel. And with that, let's get into it. Falsely accuse me of cheating? Well, I'll ruin the curve. So this was back in high school. 10th grade, honors chemistry. First day of class, the teacher spelled out the rules and some info. 1. If you had an A going into the final exam, you did not have to take the final. 2. The final was so tough, it was graded on a curve. 75% was the highest grade ever in 20 years. Number 3. So, if the highest grade was 75%, then everyone would get 25% added to their score. Number 4. Also, if you were caught cheating, you received a 0% for that test and got in trouble with the dean. Number 5. Talking during a test was okay, as long as it was not sharing answers. Weird rule, I'll admit. No problem, I thought. I love chemistry. I'll have an A going into the final, and will not have to take the dreaded final. It did sound scary, after all. Trouble started with the first exam. I finished. It was not that hard, and I was bored waiting for class to end. Being an immature 15-year-old, I whispered to the person next to me, "Look at this." I showed him my calculator, old days, which had numbers 7734, which, upside down, looked like hell. I said, "That was this test." A few days later, I got my test back. Cheating, 0%. Please see me after class. Long story short, that hell joke was the reason. I took it to the spineless dean, who rescinded the 15 days of detention. I was allowed to talk after all, but did not remove the 0%. The teacher even admitted at the disciplinary hearing that he knew I did not cheat. He said I had a 100% on that test and no one else did. But too effing bad. Rules are rules. So, the rest of that semester, I worked my butt off. And a week before the final, it was clear I would still fall 1 or 2 percentage points below an A. I'd have to take the terrible final exam. All because of my immature stupidity and that 0% for non-cheating. Now, I am all for rules, but I am also for common sense and fairness. Making me take that test was really about the teacher's ego, pride, and saving face. He admitted as much. He was actually still pissed I did not get 15 days of detention for, by his admission, not cheating. I first talked to the principal. I offered to receive a B for the class and not take the final because I knew it would help others with the better curve. I did not want an A with other students mad at me. Principal said, "Too bad." Okay then. I then approached the teacher and said, "Look, you know I deserve an A." He nodded his head in agreement. "If you make me take the final, I will get at least 95% and I will kill the curve for everyone else." I was a bit cocky for sure, but I knew I could back it up. He said, "Tough, and you won't get above 75%, Mr. Smarty Pants. No one ever has." Challenge accepted, and malicious compliance initiated. I studied as usual, and I told everyone else that there was not going to be a curve for the final, and don't blame me for what is going to happen to your grades. I am being forced to take this test. Before the final exam, some of the students who had to take the final pleaded with the teacher They had no doubt in my abilities as a curve wrecker, but he was one stubborn jerk. No dice. I got a 98% on the final. Everyone got 2 points for the curve adjustments, which in the past would have been at least 25 points. Kids were pissed, parents were pissed, meetings full of shouting and swearing were held. Through it all, I made sure no one was mad at me. After all, I told everyone this was going to happen, before it happened. The rest of the year, the principal, dean, and teacher were all pissed at me for my stunt. Huh? They had to deal with a lot of irate parents, I guess. 15 years later, I found out the 75% max score held up every year before and after me, except, of course, for my year. So in the end, about 100 innocent kids got penalized so a teacher and administration could save face. I got my A and ended up class salutatorian. Edit. I did feel really bad that some classmates became collateral damage in this drama, but I made sure they understood there were 2 easy solutions. Just give me a B or let me out of the final requirement. That the teacher and admin rejected. All the decision makers had a chance to avoid the outcome. After all, I was not going to purposely tank the final just to improve the curve. Edit 2. Someone asked what the malicious compliance was. My thoughts. I could have taken it easy on the exam, not gone for a curve-busting percentage. They said, "You must take it," thinking I'd get no more than 75%. So I studied hard to get that 98%. I think that is the malicious compliance part. If I would have relaxed and aimed for an 80%, I would still have had the high grade on exam and received an automatic A. After all the grief I went through, I wanted to show up the teacher who said I would not get above 75%. I wanted to show up admins who still thought that 0% for cheating was appropriate. After that final, everyone knew I did not cheat. That was my goal. I think that is malicious compliance, and I did feel bad some classmates suffered. My parents were involved, but this was the mid-1980s, and teachers and admin were still considered above reproach. Private school also. So they did not really fight for me. In the end, it worked out, so I guess I am okay with that. But if this ever happened to my kids, my reaction as a parent would be a lot different. This whole story ticks me off. Like, the teacher allows talking in the class during a test, but then gives you a 0% for cheating, even though they know you didn't cheat. And then, gets angry at you for doing really, really well on a test? No teacher should ever get mad at a student for doing well on a test. What a jerk. Converted from salary to hourly. Best decision ever. I worked for a mid-sized fashion company with around 150 retail stores nationwide as a maintenance and safety coordinator. 4 months into the job, my manager quit and I picked up everything and was doing fine on my own for years. And I was the only person in charge of maintaining the stores and the alarm systems in all the stores. I did get a pay bump, but not a promotion in title. I put my contact number on every store's emergency contact list, just in case the primary contacts, usually the store managers, don't pick up their phones in case of emergencies. And the store managers almost always refused to pick up calls during off hours, so my phone would ring at least 2 to 3 times every night. 99% of the times are false alarm, usually caused by window brake sensors getting tripped by vibration from a big truck passing by or a leaf hitting the window. I hated it, but had to do it because if no one on the emergency contact list picks up the phone, the alarm company automatically calls the police for dispatch, and there are penalties for false alarms, ranging from $50 to $200 per incident after 2 or 3 freebies. Varies by location. In 2017, Department of Labor passed a law requiring all employees making under a certain amount of money to be converted to hourly so they can earn overtime. My salary was $800 short of making the cut. I brought it up with HR, stating that an hourly schedule would actually interfere with my duties, and an $800 raise in pay would make everything easier. And HR simply said, "Well, that's too bad, and we can't do anything about it at the moment." Well, okay. After that conversation, I put my phone on mute and stopped caring about anything outside of my 9 to 5. In hindsight, life was actually so much easier and better that way, and not sure why I even wanted to stay on salary. Months go by without any serious issues, except for the penalties for false alarms starting to pile up. One day, accounting and operations brought me into the office, asking what those costs were. I told them what they were, and operations sent out a memo reminding all store managers that safety is of critical importance and they have to pick up calls from alarm companies. No one bothered asking why there was a surge of these additional costs, and I didn't care enough to remind them that it was because of me. Few more months go by, and one morning I woke up to almost 20 missed calls on my cell. Apparently, one of our Florida stores was broken into the night before at around 3 a.m. The store manager tried to get a hold of me because I was the one in charge of requesting and dispatching vendors for things like emergency board up. After an hour of trying to get a hold of me, she eventually started calling up everybody on the hierarchy for help, and I had 6 missed calls from the senior VP of operations alone. Eventually, the director of constructions was able to get a crew to board up the store, but that was almost 3 hours later, and everyone was royally pissed. Unsurprisingly, the second I stepped into the office, I was called into the office with all the senior management and HR and were asked why I was not there to take care of it. And I simply replied, "Because I already clocked out." The senior VP of operations was obviously not pleased with that answer and said it was my duty and I needed to be on standby at all times to handle these situations, even during off hours. To which I stated, "Oh, so I should be on call then. In that case, I'll have to work with accounting to get properly compensated for my on-call hours once we have a schedule established." The room went silent, and nothing came out of the rather short meeting. Later that afternoon, HR called me into the office again, asking whether I'd like to become salaried again with a pay bump. I said I'll take the pay bump, but I'd rather stay hourly, and walked out. They didn't give me the pay bump. Ah yes, the age-old battle between accounting and doing what's right in a company. And that's all the time we have for these malicious compliance stories. If you liked any of the stories, make sure to click that like button, and if you have something to say, let us know in the comments down below. Also, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on any more stories. Thanks for listening, everyone. Catch you later.